Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to the Everlasting Project podcast, the podcast where we explore self-discovery, self-development, and reality creation. I'm your host, Merlina Azul, and get ready because today's episode, we're going to get a little deep. Today, we're tackling addiction, and not in the sense of traditional addictions that you may think of, sex, drugs, alcohol, etc. We are going to be talking about more intangible addictions. So things like validation, codependent relationships, excuses, limiting beliefs, the stories we tell ourselves, pretty much anything that vies for our time and makes you feel good, maybe safe, maybe happy, but then generally leave you feeling empty and sometimes even leave you with regret. And the addictions we're talking about today are sneaky, okay? I think we often don't think about them as addictions because they don't come with the same stigma or the immediate consequences that traditional addictions do, but they can definitely be addictive and they can definitely be harmful. And sometimes, it's very easy to justify them because they're often wrapped up in things that seem harmless and even beneficial sometimes at first glance. Like, who doesn't want to feel validated or feel some connection to somebody, right? Who doesn't feel safer in their comfort zone? But the problem is that when these things start to control us and we start to depend on them for some sense of like peace or happiness or safety, it becomes a problem. Right? Because it can become a cycle that's very hard to break. And just like with any other addiction, the comfort that these things provide is only temporary and it leaves us wanting more and more and more to help us fill that void. So that's what I want to explore today. I want to talk about how these less tangible addictions can affect our lives, how they can impact our mental and emotional well-being, and most importantly, how we can overcome them. And this is something new, but I've also decided to include a visualization in this episode. It's a short one, just a few minutes, just to try it out, but it is very powerful. And I'm very excited to try out this new format and see how it goes. I'm gonna leave a poll down below. If you guys like it, please let me know so I can incorporate them into the episodes more often. And if it didn't really work, also let me know. Basically, I just want to know if you guys want to see more of that in the upcoming episodes. But without further ado, let's get into it. So something I see very frequently as somebody who spends a lot of time on the self-development side of social media is that anytime somebody's sharing advice, stories, guidance on personal growth, there's always going to be somebody in the comments who is exposing themselves and exposing their limiting beliefs. And people don't like it when I say that. I know that people often get triggered, but you have to hear me out. Oftentimes under these types of videos, you will see comments that are like, not everyone's that lucky. This is a privileged take. Not everybody has the capacity to do that, and on and on and on. And these comments reflect the stories that these individuals are telling themselves. These are stories of limitation and powerlessness. And that's what I mean when I say that people are out here exposing themselves. And of course, this is not to say that everyone's circumstances are the same or that there aren't challenges that we all have to face. But when these kinds of statements become our go-to response, they can turn into a mental habit, an unhealthy one. It becomes a way of sort of protecting ourselves from the discomfort of change or the fear of failure. What's really happening, right, is that these stories are giving us a way out. They let us off the hook from even having to try, from having to face the possibility of not succeeding right away, from having to put in the work that change often requires. And they're comforting because they give us an excuse to stay exactly where we are, to keep doing what we've always done, even if deep down we know we want more for ourselves. But the thing is that this comfort and this false sense of security, it comes at a cost because every time you reinforce these limiting beliefs, whether it's by repeating it to yourself, saying it to somebody else, commenting it on social media, you're essentially inching close the door of opportunities and of growth and of learning. You're closing it more and more each time because you're reinforcing this fixed mindset instead of the growth mindset that, in my opinion, is actually a requirement for personal growth. It is essential. And when I talk about the growth mindset, I'm talking about the mindset that looks at challenges as opportunities to learn and grow. The mindset that your actions trump your circumstances and that your abilities, your habits, your thought patterns are not fixed traits. I'm talking about the mindset that empowers you to evolve and reach your fullest potential. And at this point in the episode, you may already have some limiting beliefs in mind, right? Things may be coming up for you, and that's okay. That's actually great. Because like I said, I want to do a little guided visualization today. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of you listen to this while you're driving, so if you're driving, Please keep your eyes on the road. You can do this later. But I definitely recommend that you still listen to it. It can definitely be beneficial to think about the stories that you tell yourself in the meantime until you have the opportunity to come back to it and actually follow along. It's only about 3 minutes, but it is super powerful. So again, if you can't do it right now, just stick with me for a couple of minutes. You can listen along and then come back to it later, because this is a really great way to release those stories and those limiting beliefs that we hold and that we're telling ourselves. Plus, after the visualization, we'll continue the episode. We're going to dive into a few more insights, so definitely stay tuned. But for now, let's get into it. So if you are in a safe place where you can close your eyes and just meditate with me for a minute, I want you to start by closing your eyes. And once you're ready, we'll just start with a few deep breaths. So let's take a deep breath in for a count of 4, and a deep breath out. One more time, inhale, reaching your crown up to the sky. And exhale, relaxing a little bit more each time. And one more time, we're going to inhale. And let it all out. And as you let your breathing return to normal, I want you to picture a little piece of loose leaf paper. It's blank right now, but in a second, you're going to write down the first limiting belief, the first doubt, the first fear that comes to mind. And don't doubt what comes up, just see it written on your loose leaf paper. And I want you to notice how this statement makes you feel. So is there judgment? Is there fear? Like, what emotions is this bringing up for you? And once you sit with these feelings for a moment, I want you to repeat after me. My past shadows don't define me. They kept me safe in the past, but they are no longer needed. I have the power to transmute them. And now, in your mind, in your visualization, you're going to light your loose leaf on fire along with your limiting belief. And you're going to watch the piece of paper and the limiting belief burn until there's nothing but a little pile of ashes. And from those ashes, you're going to watch a new belief emerge, a positive and empowering belief. You can picture this rising in any way you desire, and any way you picture it is absolutely perfect. And when you're ready, I want you to take one more deep breath in for 4. And gently open your eyes as you release your exhale. So like I said, you guys, this is a very powerful visualization for transmuting and releasing your limiting beliefs. You can come back to it as many times as you need to. I would recommend writing down your replacement belief, like the one that rose from the ashes. Write it down and repeat it to yourself like a mantra, like an affirmation, which, by the way, I will be doing an episode on affirmations, if not next week, the week after that. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. But for now, let's get back into this discussion about how these limiting beliefs and these less tangible addictions can hold us back. And what I really want you to take away from this episode is that these beliefs, these thought patterns, they don't have to control our lives. So far, we've mainly explored how we can release them, right? How we can transmute them. We did that through the visualization. We talked about a little bit. But you have to remember that change really is a process, right? Just like with any other addiction, breaking free from these thought patterns takes dedication, time, effort, support, consistency, compassion, okay? So I really want you to stay mindful and aware of your thought patterns moving forward, so that each time you catch yourself falling into one of these old patterns, you can actively and consciously choose to redirect your thoughts. You don't want to live mindlessly anymore. That lack of awareness is often what makes us fall back and relapse. It's when you start operating on autopilot again, and you let your unhealthy habits take the reins, and you let yourself slip back into those comforting but unhealthy and unproductive patterns. So again, by staying mindful and aware, you're empowering yourself to break that cycle, right? To leave those limiting beliefs and those lies that you're telling yourself, right? Those stories you're telling yourself that are holding you back, to leave them behind and to instead start making choices that align with your growth and your well-being. And briefly, I also want to touch on the importance of compassion while you do this. I have a whole episode on compassion, so if this is something you struggle with, go back and listen to that. It is basically a whole episode about how to be gentle with yourself and how to have empathy for yourself when you're doing this work. But in this case, I bring it up because it can be really frustrating when we're doing this work and we notice that these patterns keep coming up, right? Especially things that we thought we've worked through, patterns and beliefs that we thought we put to bed. Sometimes they resurface and that can definitely be frustrating. But the thing is, once you have the tools, right? Once you've overcome these limiting beliefs once, twice, 3 times, you already have those tools, right? You know you can do it and you can keep doing that. And what I was saying about compassion is that instead of judging or criticizing yourself for maybe feeling like, I thought I worked through this, I must have messed up, try to approach yourself and the situation with love and kindness. These habits were formed for a reason. It's very likely that at one time they did serve a purpose, like they were trying to keep you safe. And like I had you repeat during the visualization earlier, even if these anxieties and fears and limiting beliefs kept you safe in the past, if they're no longer serving you, it is healthy, it is okay, it is perfect to let them go. But be compassionate and be gentle with yourself if this doesn't prove to be as easy as you thought it would be. So before we close out the episode, here's a little challenge for you this week. Whenever you catch yourself falling into one of these old patterns, whether it's seeking validation, clinging to an old story, making excuses, take a moment, okay? Acknowledge what's happening without judgment as best you can, and then consciously choose to rewrite that narrative. You have the power to do that, I promise you. Remind yourself of the new belief that emerged during the visualization, and like I said, you can come back and do that visualization as many times as you need for as many limiting beliefs as you need to. And remember that, again, you have the power to rewrite your story and choose a narrative that is aligned with your growth and your ideal self. And by the way, if you can safely is the key word, light a fire, you can do this in real life. I do this a few times a year, and it's actually a really cleansing and beautiful ritual where you write down anything that you want to release and you burn it. I burn it in a fire pit, and I don't know if I have to say this, but just in case, please, if you do try this, try to do it as safely and as contained as possible, okay? Don't start lighting fires in your kitchen. Don't start lighting fires in a forest, okay? Be very safe and very careful when you're playing with the elements. Alrighty, y'all, that is all I have for today. As always, if you found this episode valuable, please be sure to give it 5 stars. That helps me to connect with more beautiful souls like yourself who are also on their journey of personal growth. If you want to connect with me further, I'm at the Marlena Azul across platforms. As always, remember that the journey of self-discovery and self-development is everlasting, so keep doing the inner work, keep taking aligned action, and until next time, I wish you the very best in health and happiness.